Okay, today we'll do bases. Now we'll learn some definition first. We should know some concept first. Now, what are bases? Bases are oxides and hydroxides of metals and ammonium hydroxides, which is also a base, which reacts with which reacts with acids to give salt and water. So metallic oxides, you can see metallic oxides, generally they are known as basic oxides. Metallic hydroxides, they are known as basic hydroxides. So these are known as bases, and along with ammonium hydroxide. And these bases, they react with acids to give salt and water. You know that this reaction is called neutralization reaction. So basic oxides are metallic oxide, that means they contains O2 minus ions. Basic hydroxides are metallic hydroxide, they contains OH minus ions. So that is about bases. Now alkalis are those bases which are soluble in water. Means they are soluble, you can say they are soluble hydroxides. They are water soluble hydroxides. So that is, they are water soluble hydroxide, and these are known as alkalis. Now example of alkalis like KOH, you know, potassium hydroxide, also known as caustic potash. Similarly NaOH, it's known as caustic soda. They are caustic, that means they are very corrosive to skin, and therefore they are known as caustic. So caustic potash, caustic soda, these are strong alkalis. So these are strong alkalis. And you also have calcium hydroxides and ammonium hydroxides. Now these are weak alkalis. Okay, so strong alkalis are caustic potash, caustic soda, that's potassium hydroxide and sodium hydroxide, and weak alkalis are calcium hydroxide and ammonium hydroxide, right? So these are called alkalis, and hence we can say that all alkalis are bases, but all bases are not alkalis, because why all alkalis are bases? Because alkalis are what? Alkalis are bases which are soluble in water, they are known as alkalis. In fact, basic hydroxides which are soluble in water, they are known as alkalis. But all bases are not soluble in water. Now since all bases are not soluble in water, and therefore all bases are not alkalis. Okay. Now next is acidity of a base. Acidity of a base, like you have basicity of an acid, you have done, and this is acidity of a base. Now what is acidity of a base? It's a number of hydroxyl ions which can be produced per molecule of the base in an aqueous solution. So that means if it is when it dissociates into water, it's the number of hydroxyl ion that it forms per molecule. So that is known as its acidity of the base. So you can say that sodium hydroxide, the acidity is 1, so it is a monoacidic base. Similarly, potassium hydroxide is also a monoacidic base. Calcium hydroxide is also a monoacidic base. So like this we can say. And similarly aluminum hydroxide, so Ca plus 2, and this will form OH minus 1, and but 2 OH will be formed per molecule. And similarly in case of say aluminum hydroxide, ferric hydroxide, you will have 3 hydroxyl molecules. So this is acidity of a base. Okay. Okay, next is preparation of base. Now preparation of base means how can we prepare metallic oxides and metallic hydroxide, and many of the reactions you already have done in lower classes. Like first, metals burns, or when heated in presence of oxygen you get metallic oxide. So this is one of the method which we can produce metallic oxide, means we can produce a base. Like sodium burns in oxygen will give you sodium oxide. Similarly, potassium burns in oxygen will give you potassium oxide. Calcium in oxygen will give you calcium oxide. Magnesium on burning in oxygen will give you magnesium oxide, and so on. So this is one of the method we can say. Next is action of metals with water. Okay. So metal plus water. Now this water in form of normal cold water or steam, I'll tell you. It will produce a base. Now it will produce a base and hydrogen. Now base means here you will get an oxide or hydroxide. Okay, now how you see when you will get oxide and when you will get hydroxide. You see these are active metal. Okay, potassium, sodium, calcium. So these are very active metal. And then less active, you can see you have magnesium, say zinc, say iron. These are less active metal. And below hydrogen they are inactive metal, so they does not react. Now this very active metal, they react with cold water. Now this reaction you have done in lower classes in the preparation of hydrogen, if you remember. So very active metal like potassium, sodium and calcium, they react with cold water. They react with cold water and they produce their respective produce their respective hydroxide and hydrogen. Okay, respective hydroxide and hydrogen. Similarly, NaOH plus hydrogen, CaOH whole twice plus hydrogen. So all these are bases. In fact, they are alkalis: sodium hydroxide, potassium hydroxide, calcium hydroxide. Now all these react with cold water. And you know that these two reactions are very explosive reaction. So should be neglected. Very explosive, and even potassium and sodium, they catches fire. Potassium burns with a lilac flame and sodium burns with a golden yellow flame. Calcium, the speed, the reaction is okay, vigorous, but it's not explosive like potassium and sodium. So you can understand this potassium, sodium, calcium, they react, they are very active metal and therefore they react with cold water, forming their respective hydroxide and hydrogen. Now these are less active metal. Next is less active metal. Now this less active metal, they don't react with cold water. They react with warm water, but best with steam. Okay, so therefore we take steam. So all this less active metal will react with steam and they will form their respective oxide and hydrogen. Okay, oxide and hydrogen. And this iron will produce triferric tetraoxide and hydrogen. And in this case the reaction is reversible. Okay, the reaction is reversible. Naturally this is steam and this iron has to be red hot. Okay, so I hope you have done all this in hydrogen chapter. So again, so easy to remember, potassium, sodium, calcium reacts with cold water. They are very active metal and hence they react with cold water to form their respective hydroxide and hydrogen. And similarly, magnesium, zinc and iron, this is the lower, less active metal and they react with steam to give their respective oxides and hydrogen. Okay, understand? Okay, next preparation of base is from heating of nitrates. Now we can divide this into three parts. One is this potassium and sodium. You can say these are very active metal. Okay, although calcium is also active, very active, but not as potassium and sodium. So I'm just keeping potassium and sodium in a group, and then less active metal, that's a less active metal, and then more or less inactive metal or very least active metal. So AgNO3 whole twice and AgNO3. So we can divide into least active metal. So then I can remember the pattern of the reaction. You see, when we heat this potassium and sodium nitrate, then they partially decompose and form potassium nitrite and oxygen and NaNO2 and oxygen. So we are getting only a colorless gas. So this oxygen is only colorless gas, and we are getting no base here. So no oxides or hydroxides of metal is formed. So we don't prepare a base by this method, by heating potassium or sodium nitrate. But when these less active metals are heated, what we'll get? We'll get metal oxide, we'll get nitrogen dioxide and oxygen. So they will break into this three parts. Metal oxide, that means this is a base. NO2, it's a reddish brown color, so reddish brown, and oxygen. Okay, sometimes question comes like this, ki name a colorless or name two nitrates which on heating gives only a colorless gas. So that will be potassium nitrate and sodium nitrate, because leaving these two nitrate, if you heat any nitrates, they will always give you a brown fumes, reddish brown fumes of nitrogen dioxide. Okay, so therefore we can say that whenever we get heating a salt, if we get brown fumes of nitrogen dioxide, that means that salt is surely a nitrate. So therefore this will break into CaO, NO2 and oxygen and everybody, MgO plus NO2 plus oxygen. This will become ZNO plus NO2 plus oxygen. This will become PbO plus NO2 plus oxygen. This will become CuO NO2 plus oxygen. Okay, and this least active metal, they form their respective metal plus NO2 plus oxygen. So silver mercury nitrate will produce Hg, silver nitrate will produce silver plus NO2 plus oxygen. So in these two cases also we are getting no base. Okay, so only from here to here bases are produced. So that's calcium to copper. So we are not getting a base from potassium or sodium nitrate and silver and mercury and silver. But leaving this, if we heat any nitrate, we get a metallic oxides known as base, we get brown fumes of nitrogen dioxide, and we get oxygen gas. Okay, so this is about heating of nitrates. Okay, next is preparation of base by heating of carbonates. Now in this case also we'll divide potassium and sodium in a group, and then the less active metal and least active metal. So that's silver and mercury, not necessary. Here what we'll see, that when we heat them, they will not decompose. Always sodium and potassium, if you have seen in the previous case also, they have just partially decomposed, and in this case they are not decomposing. Why? Because potassium and sodium, they are very active metal, and they always form a very strong bond between the other elements, so therefore their compounds are generally very stable to heat. So therefore they does not decompose very easily. So in this case, they are not decomposing, they will melt, but they will not decompose. But all this, they will form their metallic oxide and carbon dioxide. So everybody will give carbon dioxide. So like calcium carbonate, when heated, you get CaO plus CO2. Here also MgO plus CO2, ZnO plus CO2, similarly PbO plus CO2 and CuO plus CO2. Understand? So all these are base. Okay, so this is about heating of carbonates. Okay, next is also, we can also prepare a metallic oxide as a base by heating metal sulfide in presence of oxygen. So metal sulfide plus oxygen will give their respective oxide and sulfur dioxide. Okay, so Na2S plus O2 will give you Na2O plus SO2, CaS plus O2 will give you CaO plus SO2. So understand? So we are getting sulfur dioxide and their respective metallic oxide. And next is also the preparation of ammonium hydroxide. Ammonium hydroxide is also a base. In fact, it's an alkali. So when ammonia dissolve in water, just ammonia on dissolving in water, ammonia is always highly soluble in water, and when ammonia dissolve in water, it produces ammonium hydroxide. Okay, so this is how we prepare ammonium hydroxide. Okay, next is physical properties of base. Bases are bitter in taste and they are slippery to touch. And caustic alkalis are very much corrosive to skin. As I've told you, NaOH and KOH, they are caustic soda and caustic potash. They are very corrosive to skin. They are bitter in taste. Like acids are sour in taste, bases are bitter in taste and slippery to touch. They are generally soapy to touch. And the action on indicators, the basis turns red litmus solution blue. They turns methyl orange yellow. So from orange to yellow, and they turns phenolphthalein from colorless to pink. Okay, so these are the physical properties of bases. Okay, next is chemical properties of base. Now, strong alkalis absorbs carbon dioxide. So, strong alkalis, sodium hydroxide and potassium hydroxide, also known as caustic soda and caustic potash. So, they are used in laboratory for absorbing carbon dioxide wherever it is required. And how do they do that? NaOH plus CO2 will give you Na2CO3 and H2O. Okay. Similarly, so like carbon dioxide gas forms sodium carbonate, so that means this gas is absorbed and sodium carbonate is formed as salt. So and it get dissolved in water. And similarly, KOH plus CO2 gives you K2CO3 and H2. So caustic potassium hydroxide, caustic potash absorb carbon dioxide, forming potassium carbonate and water. Similarly, caustic soda absorb carbon dioxide, forming sodium carbonate and water. Okay. Okay, the next property you have already done before in properties of acid also, that neutralization reaction. So I am not going in a broad description, but still if you remember, this is a base plus acid will give you what? A salt and water. So metallic oxide, even metallic hydroxide, this is also a base and you will get a salt and water. And if you remember, I have used a hydrochloric acid, HCl, so I am getting a chloride. So if I use sulfuric acid, I will get a sulfate, and if I use a nitric acid, I will get a nitrate. Okay, say sodium nitrate and water. If I use nitric acid here, okay. So this is a neutralization reaction. Okay, next properties of ammonium salt plus an alkali will give you salt, water and ammonia. So you take ammonium salt and you take alkali. Alkali means KOH again, KOH and NOH and or CaOH whole twice. Okay, so we can't take ammonium hydroxide. So ammonium salt will not react with ammonium hydroxide, but other than ammonium hydroxide, it will react with these three. So simple, you have to remember this, that ammonium salt reacts with an alkali to give salt, water and ammonia. Even this method is used for the laboratory preparation of ammonia. Okay, so ammonium salt, so you take NH4Cl plus alkali, say NaOH. So what you get? We get a salt. Now which salt we'll get? We'll get NaCl, sodium chloride, we'll get water and we get ammonia. Okay, simple. So if I take, instead of ammonia NaOH, if I take KOH, so what will be the difference? KCl. And water and ammonia, so ammonium chloride plus KOH will give you KCl, water and ammonia. And similarly, if I take CaOH whole twice, so what salt we'll get? We'll get here calcium chloride, again water and ammonia. So ammonium chloride plus calcium hydroxide will give you calcium chloride plus water and ammonia. Okay, understand? Similarly, instead of ammonium chloride, if I take ammonium sulfate, NH4 whole 2 SO4 plus NaOH. So now you can understand which salt you will get. You will get sodium sulfate. So you will get Na2SO4 again plus water plus ammonia. Again, instead of sodium hydroxide, if I take potassium hydroxide, I will get K2SO4, naturally water and ammonia. So ammonium sulfate plus KOH will give you K2SO4, potassium sulfate, water and ammonia. And similarly, if I take calcium hydroxide, so I'll get here what? Calcium sulfate plus water and ammonia. So ammonium sulfate plus calcium hydroxide will give you calcium sulfate plus water plus ammonia. Okay. Okay, next is pH. pH means in fact is power of hydrogen, and it is defined as the negative logarithm to the base 10 of the concentration of the hydrogen ion. In fact, the calculations and derivations of pH is out of your ICSE scope. You have to just understand pH scale and pH concentration. So calculation is not there. But for means suppose 10 to the power, if a certain solution have a 10 to the power minus 12 moles per liter, the concentration of H plus ions, the concentration of H plus ions tells you about the basicity or acidity of a solution or neutrality of a solution. So therefore that measurements gives us a view of the nature of the solution, and it is calculated in a certain way by using logarithm. So if the concentration of hydrogen ion is 10 to the power minus 12 moles per liter, then its pH value is actually 12. Okay, so just for your information, so calculation is not required. And generally we represent elements, compounds with pH values, and a pH scale in fact starts from, it's between from 0 to 14, and this is 7, and then you have 1 2 3 4 5 6 and 7, then 8 9 10 11 12 13 and 14. So this 7 represent neutral. So it is neutral. So any solution whose pH value is 7, then that's a neutral solution. Now as the pH increases, then in fact its basicity, alkalinity, okay, alkalinity increases, and as the pH decreases, then its acidic nature increases, acidity. So that means, suppose you have A, B, C, D, E. So we have a pH value say 3, and then you have a pH value 1, then you have 7, then you have 9, and you have 14. Then I can say C is neutral solution, like water is a neutral solution, pure water. B is acidic, C is also acidic, D is alkaline in nature, and E is also alkaline in nature. Okay, understand? But if somebody asks me, okay, out of A and B, who is more acidic? Then I will say B is more acidic because its pH value is less. So you can understand, lesser the pH value, more will be the acidic nature, and more the pH value, more will be the alkaline nature. Now if they ask me to compare D and E, then I will say E is more alkaline compared to D. Okay, but conversely try to understand, when I say B is more acidic and A is less acidic, then if somebody now asks me out of A and B which one is more alkaline, in that case I will say A is more alkaline and B is less alkaline. Understand? Similarly, in case of D and E, I have seen that E is more alkaline because its pH is more, D is less alkaline, it is where pH is less. So that means E is more alkaline and D is less alkaline. But out of D and E, if somebody asks me who is more acidic, out of D and E, D is more acidic, although they are not acid, but comparing D and E, I can say D is more acidic. Okay, so this type of question comes in ICSE about pH, so not more than that. Okay, so that's so we have finished today about base and pH scale. Okay.